Fuck. Things here?
Yeah.
Oh, right, that's enough.
Your son and the we got mine. Okay. When did the cases get split between Elgin and DB?
I'll be right around March 18th. It went into effect with the use of the first several weeks, the majority of our assault twos were coming in as DV assault twos.
And then they kept half and you got half?
They take intimate partners, we take parent-child.
Okay. This seems like, be very careful about what you're charging, right?
It seems, I don't know what you're saying. You told me that the second reason why I should have a demotion is that you found out that that declining cases is one way that we manage our caseloads. And I told you then, and I confirmed with Scott, and the point of these notes is to show you that that is a direction that we received from both Chris and Scott. It's pretty clear, especially in Chris's notes. And that's just always been the directive that we've had. He would be charging 30% of the upgrades that are coming in. Why are we adding to our already heavy caseloads? We shouldn't be spending large amount of time for what was a misdemeanor offense 9 months ago. Don't charge if we think we're going to try to reclass or seek an amendment later.
Right.
Think about RPI or follow-up. Think about outright decline. The message couldn't have been clearer from Chris.
But that's the purpose of the statute is.
Okay, absolutely. And I went out every single time any of us review a case. We look at the statute. I personally I have the language of the legislative intent and the testimony that I refer every single time. So that's exactly what we do. If this is what we have, then when that's maybe something we didn't know from the start with this. And when you found out from me, back on April 19th, that could have been a time to also clarify. But my charging criteria hasn't changed since this. And I charge a lot of cases. And I am sure never to consider whether someone's homeless or mentally ill or, I am very serious about what I charge. And if I decline a case, I'm also very serious. I don't think any of us decline on a whim or even with consideration. Like I said, I had 37 cases going into prosecution. I charged 3 this week.
And I think, the number is so big now because Mario quit. So you got his cases. Because when we looked at the numbers back in April, you had like 20.
I only have.
It was very different.
Well, Mario was an addition. Mario, ever since I came in, we've only had 3. So Mario was the first time we ever had 4. So essentially we're back to what we were with Molly. We have 3 currently. With Molly has 33, or as of today she had 31. Yesterday she had 33. As of today I have 38. And as of today I believe Morgan has 18. So
it has really gone up. And because when we looked before, when we had this conversation in April, it was about 20, 18, 20, 22. That's what the folks.
Yeah, for 4 people. Between 4 people.
Right, so this is going up because we quit, right?
No. Our personal numbers are what they were. Essentially, all of Mario's cases just came back to the original deputy. And who knows how they be charged, but no. It's pretty much what we always had. I always had at least 35. And I've never complained. I have never once complained.
I ran the stats on people additionally. And I don't think anybody, I think Molly had the most at 23.
And up until before Mario, I always always, and we have all the stats saved in a shared drive. Thea's kept, I've
So was
always
it higher
had.
before and then it went down with Mario?
This is consistent with what it's always been. I've always had above 30, 35. So this is consistent with what it always was with 3 people on the team. And our statistics are in the G drive. Well, I have them in our elder abuse folder. This is what they've always done. I've always carried a caseload like this.
It was a moment in time that I captured in April. In your caseload was around 20, I think Morgan had under 20, Molly had 23, and I can't remember what Mario had, but
Yes, the
So maybe that's.
numbers.
That's-
Well, so you came into this meeting today not looking at the current caseloads?
no, yeah, no.
Oh, today it's 38.
No,
I
I
have it.
understand,
Okay.
I'm saying what it was in April, that's all that's being said.
Did you look
But
at
I'm also-
before Mario?
No. But I'm also concerned that, and, you know, we're looking at and I think when you say I'm spending too much time with Armstrong, it's just a case it could have been anybody. It's just a case that was brought to our attention, and so we looked at it. And part of what Mario got saying that I'm campaigning for Bob. Oh, no, that Bob was campaigning for me. And that apparently came about from that one email you got from Bob Armstrong.
No, that did not come from that email. That came from the word that we got from everyone. Even Tom, we all knew. Absolutely not. That's absolutely wrong. I take a lot of pride in my integrity and honesty.
So do I.
I made a point to never include Mario in any discussion with regard to Bob Armstrong. I wanted that to be reviewed blind. So he never received that information from me.
Where did he get any of that information from?
Probably from Bob Armstrong himself.
No, but he never campaigned for me.
Bob, you saw the email. Bob Armstrong was telling us in that email I sent you. He said you were at his condo complex at his invitation.
Last October.
Okay.
Wait, hang on.
The point is-
No. Listen, last October to talk about weed and seed and elder safety. That was the one time, and I asked you where are the other emails, and you said, "Oh, this is it." That came about from that. It was at that. I didn't know him before that. And then in his resignation letter, he said, "I was campaigning when I was a judge. I was a judge in 2016."
Bob Armstrong told us that. I don't know what
Oh.
emails Bob Armstrong or conversations Bob Armstrong had with Mario. Tom has told us that. Tom told us that, you told us that information as well. He
Did he
approached
campaign
you
for
twice.
me?
Bob Armstrong approached Tom twice in public places.
Yeah, saying why wasn't my case action? That's it.
And
Not
with
that
Tom-
he's campaigning for
And
me.
with Tom, the first time he talked to you at a Chinatown event, he said, I supported him, I invited him to my condo. So that's what Bob Armstrong tells everyone.
Yeah, that
I
he
heard-
invited me long after I got elected to talk to the condo. That has nothing to do with me running for office.
All right.
And then when it came up with Mario.
Yeah,
and-
I've
and-
spent hours talking to you about the Mars issue. I completely understand your position and everyone's position on Bob Armstrong. I get it. We talked about it with Mario. We're here today talking about why I get a demotion.
Right.
And that's reason 1. Reason 2 is declining.
And reason 3 is when Mario was presented with the facts, he couldn't admit he was wrong.
That's reason
And-
1.
No.
That's reason 1.
And then you could not stop defending him on that. You weren't acting like a supervisor. You were acting like a fellow deputy
You
trying
know-
to help their person.
You know what I felt like I was acting like? And actually, it's unfortunate that you didn't sort of receive what I had to say. I'm someone who always supported you. I feel
I
like
appreciate
you want
that.
to talk about canary in the coal mine. If
Yeah.
it's to the point where I'm actually offering a personal opinion, that's a canary in a coal mine moment. I am a person who works hard. I keep my door respectfully open. I do my work. I'm diligent. For me to actually tell you honestly what I felt, and what I also said was, this is how it appears to other people. So it's almost like, it was like an emperor has no clothes moment, because I was telling you how it was appearing to people. You say that you want to know what the deputies are saying. I was
course.
telling you, this is how it comes off. Which is, and I
Saying
would've,
what?
I would've
Refresh
hoped.
my memory, what are you saying?
Okay, I remember with, the Roy Kwan termination, or whatever that was. I think everyone, myself included, was of the belief, it doesn't matter if it's a huge lie or a small lie. You have to, everyone has to take you at your word. Your integrity and honesty is
Right.
everything. Doesn't matter if it's a big lie or a small lie. So,
We're on the
what I
same
believe
page
I
then.
told you, in here was, same thing, okay? Two $2,500 donations, which clearly was not the fact, or this guy who puts himself out as a campaigner, a
He
supporter.
never said he was a campaigner that has been told to me.
Well, that's,
He said he voted for me, he supported me. 200,000 people did.
so you're upset, from what you just said, with the fact that you said I continued to, well, you say I'm defending Mario. I saw it as, I'm telling you what it looks like, and for me to just tell you what it looks like, or just try to offer a different perspective, I would have thought that you should be happy to hear that. And especially from someone like me, I never complain. I've been here for 12 years and such, I don't complain. I never complain about work. I don't ask for anything. So for me to sit there and actually kind of give you some different perspective, you didn't want it. And now, here we are 2 months later, and this is something that has bothered you so much that I should be demoted for it.
That's what everybody here thinks. It isn't me alone. That's,
So because you say I defended Mario, I think it's providing a perspective that you clearly didn't want or welcome.
no, but you're trying to change the facts of what he said.
Of what Mario said.
Yeah.
I don't think I am changing the facts of what Mario said.
And then Mario's talking about me campaigning with Bob Armstrong when I was still a judge.
I don't have Mario's letter. I did not see Mario's letter. I don't have it. I did not consult with Mario before it.
And then when he shares this with another agency, you said, what's the big deal about
I did
that?"
not say, I have never said what's the big deal.
Everybody talks about their cases, so it's not that bad that he went and talked to Michael
Talking-
Minkin at the AG's
what you
about a
said-
pending case.
I never said what's the big deal. I said we all talk. We talk about cases.
Right, but you're trying to defend his talking to Minkin about it, when he didn't get his facts right. And then Minkin told somebody else it's pay for play at
That's
the
out of my
prosecutor's
hands,
office.
and that's not something I would defend. That's out of my hands. But okay, so I do understand the Mario. So are those the only two shortcomings I have as a manager, or are there more?
How about talking about pending case in a PowerPoint presentation?
Okay, so to the UH Law School?
I don't know what the group was. It was not in the office. I thought it was what was it? Law students, contractors, I don't know who.
UH Law students.
Okay, talking about that pending case with photos and stuff, is that accurate?
Yes, with the UH Law students.
Right.
And so with that regard, why did you never mention it? No one has ever come to me and said anything.
Well-
So here you use reasons that are justify my demotion. You know that we continue to do presentations, we continue to speak in the public.
Absolutely, but not
But this
talking
is the-
about pending
But
cases.
this is the first time this is the first time that I'm hearing this from you. And you know that we get invitations all the time.
Absolutely, I talk all the time. I don't talk about pending cases. It's a violation of the Hawaii Rules of Professional Conduct to talk about investigations that could affect an upcoming hearing. So if any of those people got called for jury duty, that would interfere with that process, so it's a violation of that, right? I mean, you know Miles Briner's trying to make a big deal about this, and that's why there's a
Sure, he
records
can,
request.
he can
and-
try to make a big deal about it, and then he can also probably explain why Kyle Dowd has press conferences in his office talking about his client Juan Barone. That's an issue for sure.
Could I interject something? Because you and I had a conversation about that.
We had
correct?
one fleeting conversation, fleeting.
You can characterize it, it was one conversation where we specifically said, we can't be held to the same standard as defendants and defense attorneys. That we can't be putting something out there in the public that would influence or have the ability to influence.
Okay, so that Briner Freedom of Information request came in December. And so this has now been, so that happened in December, and this is part of my demotion.
There's actually 2 requests from Briner on the same subject.
No, the second one was no, and if you read it carefully, because I know Brooks clarified this, and I then went back and clarified with Brooks. The first one was for me. The second one was for Morgan and Molly.
Same subject matter. He's fishing for elder presentations
Clearly.
that include
Clearly, and
live cases.
You've been aware of this Briner request since December, and this is the first time you're bringing this up.
I wasn't aware of it early on, I just heard that you had talked.
But this
about-
is your
Hang
third.
on, no,
this is
hang-
your third reason. So
hang
this is
on.
you didn't.
Hang on, we're talking about what you did in a presentation, talking about a pending case. You'd agree that was improper. That's what the point of this discussion is.
Oh, the
It's
point
a lack
this,
of judgment
okay.
in
Mhm.
talking about a pending case.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a violation of office policy for one thing, but it's just, we all know this by now. You don't talk about pending cases. So you'd agree that was wrong?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good, that's.
And I would also say that this administration has been aware since December, and this is the first time we're having this conversation.
Well, it's not the first time I've had this conversation.
Really, Tom, you can say it was quite fleeting. It was quite eye-roll fleeting.
Well, that may be true, but I don't want you to characterize this as being the first time admin has talked to you about this, because that's untrue.
Okay, no, you mentioned it. It was not a formal meeting. It was, in fact, I think you're just walking by my office. So, yeah.
We talked about how we cannot be on the same level with defense attorney, because you had the same argument, that Kyle Dowd does it, so why can't we?
No, I did not have that same argument. I did not say that. I said if it comes up, if they do file a motion, then this is something.
Right.
And I've
I
already-
thought, and I told
Yeah.
you, that is not our standard.
Yes, but you do see how even just now you sort of twisted. I did not say, so why can't we? I did not say that.
You brought it up to
I
me.
did not say
You
Kyle
brought-
Dowd.
I didn't know that, but you brought it.
You just kind of twisted it to say something I didn't. I never said Kyle Dowd does it, so why can't we? I never said that.
When I'm talking about what you said, I do not have it verbatim. I am paraphrasing
Okay,
what you
then
told
please
me.
don't paraphrase anything that I said, when especially it's saying something like, so why can't we? Are there any other, these are the 3? Okay.
No, there's other issues. I've been told by other folks in the office, staff with screening, that your paperwork is not timely, that's an issue with them, an ongoing issue with them. There's also been a couple of incidents where you were either discussing, talking about the case with a witness in front of the jurors, the grand jurors, that was not in session. So that was something that was pointed out to you, and you stopped talking to the witness, but it was another example of an issue that had come up more than once. There was another issue regarding, the way we charge things regarding extended sentencing, that there's two phases, phase 1 and phase 2, and that you, were presenting both phases together, or at least discussing it, and that was brought to my attention as well.
Yeah, that was one of the first grand juries out of COVID. It was a mistake. Scott talked to me about it, and I immediately went back that following week.
Kathy, I want to share something with you. I did see your notes, and it's clear that with regards to PR cases, I did say that we shouldn't accept for charge unless it's trial ready. That is absolutely true. I want to share with you also is that I've reviewed all the conferral sheets through all the vertical teams as they come in, and I've respected all decisions that you've made with regards to charging, whether it's to charge or not to charge. So I just want to let you know that I have reviewed the conferral sheets, and I think that's consistent with what I wanted to impart back in December of the discretion that I was affording to everyone, and the importance of having something in the reviewing deputy's mind trial ready.
And I would just like to also say, I am confident I'm one of the best and most organized team captains. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who has a folder in the shared drive. I've sent Scott the link. All my team members have a link with all our policies, all the minutes from our meetings, all the cases that come in on Beeper. Ever since the Rob Armstrong thing, I've started saving every single one of our conferrals in there by charge and a separate folder for decline. So, I can see why this is important for you, but I think that you are not acknowledging that I see this for what it is. You are trying to justify a demotion, but what you're not saying is, why do you think Molly and Morgan both applied for supervisor? The day that email came out, I texted them. I was at my desk, they were not. I texted them, I said, this just came out. I forwarded it to them, I said, I think you should apply. I think you are qualified, and I think the worst thing, even though it would be terrible to lose you, it would be worse for someone less qualified than you to get the job. I don't think you appreciated that. I think you interpreted that as like just the reading between the lines. I
didn't know you sent an email to them. I mean,
why would you? Why?
Right.
I don't.
So you just said I took it the wrong way.
No,
I didn't know. I'm not aware of it.
No,
I'm
it's
sure
clear.
Molly will be a great.
Of course she will.
That's why
I
she was
encouraged.
picked.
Absolutely, and I
Right.
encourage them. I feel that I've done an excellent job trying to mentor, or if there are things that I know I can't offer, to coordinate opportunities, Pauhanas, lunches, meetings on certain topics. I think I've done a lot to do staff and professional development. I'm always available. I have always had the highest number of cases on our team. I've never been the type, to me as a leader, I've always led by doing. If I know caseloads are an issue, I will never have fewer cases than my team.
But I think we're still not on the same page with this.
Well, that's, you're talking about the caseloads. If we're not on the same team with this, and you have now read the directive that we received, then, I think you're stuck with that issue, but if you look at Chris Van Marter's notes from the March 17th, 2022 meeting, in fact, I thought after I gave you this, I thought you'd maybe apologize to me, that maybe now that you've seen, I emailed Scott actually the next day, not Monday, and that I was correct when I said that was the directive.
Right, but not to turn down cases that are
We have
actionable.
never turned down
Okay,
cases.
no, but that's what you said to me
Well,
at that meeting.
That's clear that, I have never said we turn down cases that are actionable.
No,
So
that was the
that's your
inference, that's how you kept control of your caseload.
No,
Cheryl, do you
No.
remember that?
Yeah,
no.
well,
I specifically repeat, and I have a very good memory, and I was very careful and accurate when I told you what our marching orders were. That one way, and that's exactly what they say. Both Scott in his meetings, and when caseloads, one way to address caseload is at the beginning conferral stage. Really consider what cases you're charging. That is literally, I don't, in a meeting, I don't
Make
write.
sure it's a good case, or you don't charge it.
Right, Kathy, I didn't say anything about.
You did.
Well, no, listen, let
exactly.
me finish. I didn't say anything about 30%, these
No,
things that
that's
Chris.
from Chris.
Right, I just want to make clear, I did say that cases need to be ready to go
Of
at the
course.
outside. But I never said to turn down actionable cases. No one agrees with that
No one
principle.
said that.
Right,
I've
right,
never
right,
said we
right,
should turn
right.
down
And I've
actual
never said
cases.
that either, so.
One way to address caseload is at the beginning conferral stage. Really consider what cases you're charging.
Right.
So make sure
I-
they're good cases.
I agree
No,
with
that's,
that.
I've never, make sure they're good cases. That's never been,
Well, again, that's what you perceive. I said, whatever I communicated is that the conferral stage, or when you make a decision to file in the PR case, that the deputy believes in her discretion, that the evidence is sufficient to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. I think that's what that's what it means. And that is a general guiding principle. When you clearly brought to my attention this directive from Chris from March of last year, I was unaware of that when we met in December, but as I said earlier, I've agreed with your charging decisions. Okay,
Yeah.
so-
yeah, I'm very disappointed. Even, I've never spoke poorly about Oksana to you or you, but the fact that you would merge the two and have Oksana, Oksana is a very manipulative person. If you ever look at her work, she skirts work, she insults people, she backstabs, she'll do anything she can to undermine others to make herself look better. And it's not like it's something that you probably haven't seen, because I'm sure she was in here many times complaining about their caseloads around the
She's never
time.
been in here.
Well, then she always told us that she spoke to you directly. So whatever was happening before Chris left, and I never complained. I never tried to battle it out. I figured, everything would even out. But this meeting that we're having today is so disappointing. And I supported you. I supported you when you were running. I supported you
I know
when you
you
first
did.
came. I can see that it's we're almost 2 years into your term, and I perceive that you still feel very uncomfortable with the deputies here, or the lay of the land.
I don't.
But I feel like there's some desperation here. I feel very disappointed at this meeting. I feel very disappointed at the reasons you've given for my demotion. I feel very disappointed that you feel more allegiance to someone like Oksana. I'm sorry that you don't see the value of my leadership and the leadership I've offered. And I'm sorry that you, not sorry, I regret, it disappoints me that when I come in here today, you start off by essentially insulting me, saying I'm not a good leader, I'm not a good supervisor, because I believe I'm one of the best team captains in this office.
Well, the first thing you did was accuse me of not doing due diligence.
You didn't.
When
You should have
you keep
asked.
interrupting me, Kathy.
No.
I know it's hard to hear, but
You
you
didn't.
accused me of not doing due diligence when I wasn't aware of it. You need to be on notice in order.
Yes, but even when I told you, just like with the Mario thing, you chastised me saying, well, we should have gone and talked to Scott. Well, we did. Oh, you should have talked to Tom. We did. Even with this, you
Not
tell.
about,
Yes, we
to try to
did.
deter him But that was after he had already done a whole bunch of things.
Like
talking to another agency,
Yeah.
right?
I have no idea about that. All I know is the day, within minutes of Mario telling me I corrected him. And evidently, you believe I'm not a good supervisor because I should have done more. And then something like this. The second reason you gave me is you said that you learned at that time that declining cases is a way I manage cases. I told you at that time what our marching orders were from Scott and Chris. Scott disagreed, so you took that as, well, I was misstating what happened. Yet I told you, well, no, I actually emailed him. So you said, well, why didn't you tell Scott? Well, I did. I emailed him the following day. I even emailed him his notes, the notes I took from his meeting, and I emailed him the notes I took.
Right, but you
from
didn't tell me I was wrong.
Why? That's where the due diligence comes in. If this is number 2 reason, why didn't you follow up with Scott? Why didn't you have another meeting with Scott saying, oh, sorry so did Kathy really misspeak? What really happened? Or you could have met with me.
I told you that you had said something wrong. So if I was wrong with that, you should have told me that.
I told Scott. I told my direct supervisor. I respect hierarchy, and I respect Scott enough that I wouldn't go to you or Tom without going to Scott first. Which I think is also another reason and another example of how I am a very good team captain and a very good supervisor. I have a lot of respect for hierarchy, and I have a lot of respect for my immediate supervisor, and I don't do things like leapfrog supervisors, which is something Oksana does. Well, you roll your eyes and do this, but I mean,
No,
you
I'm
just
saying
made a comparison.
Cutting somebody else down is not gonna.
Well, it's Oksana's style, right? So it's a style that you favor. It's a style that you observe.
Now you're insulting me. That's not gonna help things, Kathy.
It's not. It is clearly. I don't have to tell you what Oksana is. Everyone here already knows. You already know her style. You already know what she does. Yet you tell me I'm a bad leader, a bad supervisor.
And one of the things I was concerned about after we had the big group meeting was it became clear that it isn't anybody's fault. It seems like it's a colorblind thing, similar to colorblind. Some people, and partly based on age, are able to assess if somebody is 60 years or over, and others are not. And it was really clear from that meeting, it isn't anybody's fault, but knowing that, that needed to be addressed, to be in the elder abuse unit.
Well, you know,
right?
And
I mean,
if
does
I
that make
may,
sense to you?
No, it doesn't, because the people in the elder abuse unit and charging deputies are the same type of people who will likely be on the juries. And when they charge a case based on the perceived age or ability to prove the age of the victim, they have to imagine, how will I stand in front of a jury and explain why this person who's never met this victim before should have known? So, you know, I respect the charging deputy, you know, and I think you should respect how they evaluate the way someone would determine age, because that's what the jurors are thinking of.
Right, but if they cannot look at a picture and realize that the person's over 60, then that puts them at a disadvantage, and it makes it tough to be on that team, because it's not a trial challenge,
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything else. It's like, I'm gonna decline the case because the person doesn't look old enough. And everybody else in that room who was 50 years or over, including some younger ones like Tiffany, said, yeah, the guy looks over 60. It isn't our fault. If I'm looking at a picture of a 21-year-old, I might think they're 16. And I admit that. So I shouldn't be in a position of making that kind of call. I mean, I'm not the right person for that call. And so that's why we talked about at that meeting, are there other strategies that can be used?
Mm-hmm.
Like running it by somebody who's able to make that kind of visual call. I hope there's a way we can work this out. Because you are a valuable person. You're smart. You're a good trial attorney. you just don't have enough people in there, and we don't have enough deputies to give them to. We interview everybody who's coming in and hiring most of them, even a couple that are taking a chance, and we've had to tell them, you're not cutting it, you're gonna have to leave. I mean, really, we like you, Kathy, you're smart. We just don't see, we saw some problems with this, but we cannot have two of you try to carry on the work in that team. Is there, I mean, and that's why Scott came up with the idea of combining the two teams, just so more people could carry the load. I
And
mean,
so
I'm all ears.
combining the teams, so Oksana be the captain, and then who does the elder abuse cases? And
Well, Kathy, among the many suggestions, is it was very evident to me that once Molly was tapped as captain, and we knew the date was coming, that we needed a body. And that's what, there was a discussion with Steve and the administrative team the moment Molly was announced. But here we are, a week or two from that transition, and if I understand correctly, and I'm not gonna misspeak to you, Steve, but we don't have a body to go to EA, we just don't. So among the considerations was the merging of two teams, so that merged team does both CC and EA. How exactly that would happen would be to be worked out. But it was evident to me that two people cannot be on that EA beeper, and that's just not fair to you and Morgan, and that would be unsustainable because your already high caseload would even be higher. So that was a proposal. That's the way I see it. And how would it work out? Then we've got to figure that out. We have staff, we have paralegals, and we have to come up with a procedure of how that would work. I don't know the details right now.
If we could have another person that we could figure out a way to get you another person, maybe we can have that discussion. It's numbers right now. Tom?
I just didn't expect this, honestly, Kathy, because you are well-liked here. I don't want you to change, go somewhere you don't want to be. I mean, you struck me as somebody who wants to be a prosecutor. You always have. And I think this is a good fit for you in this office. So that's the most disappointing thing for me, is that I'm thinking of what you are going to be doing a year from now, or even a month from now, or a week from now. And I don't see you being as happy as just doing cases and trials here. So, I hope we can just take a second, take a breath, think about it, and not submit a letter of resignation. I would hate to lose you. I would hate it. And not because of how it affects the office. I would hate it because I would not be working with you and you wouldn't be doing what you want to do for the last 12 years.
And Kath, somehow I thought after our discussion with that big group and stuff, that I thought you guys were gonna end up just charging more of the elder cases. Because I really did take it from our discussion with you that you were turning down actionable cases. And if I was wrong in that was the clear implication. And maybe that's what Chris wanted you to do, but I thought after that whole discussion, you guys were charging more cases. And maybe showing that picture to Mark Ewan or somebody else to say, they'd say, yeah, that guy looks like he's over 60.
did you review the beeper
No, I
tally
haven't.
that I sent you?
We just got it. and-
I have not showed it to him.
Oh, we charge a lot of cases every week.
Yeah, are you doing more than before?
Uh, there's a way to figure that out, which would be we could go through and count, but,
I mean, because I really thought that based on the, you know, I really don't, I'm not faulting somebody if they honestly look at that picture and can't see that he's over 60. But I was taking it, the cases were being turned down because people looked at that and couldn't tell they were over 60. And to me, he really is clear he's over 60. And so if I just took it, that's the reason cases were being turned down. And so I thought you guys would have come up with some other strategy, like showing it to somebody who's older, because the older folks seem to have no trouble identifying somebody who's over 60. And that would lead to more cases being charged. I mean, really, that's what I had assumed was happening. And that's what I wanted to see, because they should get, more cases should get charged. So,
yes, and my takeaway from that meeting, and I think I said after Cheryl made a comment, I said, okay, if we had thought about it from the question of what is best for elder safety,
Yeah.
that sort of change, not about Robert Armstrong, but elder safety. Therefore, that is one reason I'm frustrated and disappointed that we didn't get a third body. And that's why I said in the beginning, where you put your staff and where you put your budget for staff is a reflection of your values. And the fact that we have so many cases,
Yeah.
and we have complicated cases. We have extortions, arsons, murders.
That's
A
why we
lot.
went up to 4.
We have
That's
a
why.
lot of homeless victims that take a lot more work. That, given the number, how many is this, 60, 70, we have 86 cases in elder abuse currently. Those are trial cases.
Yeah.
And there will be more, because I just charged 3 more this
Yeah.
week who haven't been arraigned yet.
But that's good to me.
Yes, and I think with 2 months to replace Molly, valuing these cases, these victims, I think would have meant replacing, you're giving us a third person.
Right, and that's why we got to 4, because we did value it. We understand that a lot of work on conferrals, a lot of time is spent. It's just trying to figure out where to find other bodies. I mean, it really, and it's not like other people are getting extra people or something at the expense of you. We're just doing the best we can. But every government, the AGs are short like 30 people. The city is short 3,000 people. Corp Council, when we went to Miami, the DA's office there, they have their budget for 350, they have 250. So everybody's in that boat. We have more people coming on board in August. We have somebody coming on board in July. There are more people, but we look at that board and try to figure out how can we move people, and elder is important. That's why you had 4. But we didn't expect to lose Mario because of what he did. And then Molly got picked.
Right, 2 months ago. I mean, there was 2 months to sort of to either have this conversation
Yeah,
or
and-
replace her.
And trying to figure out where else to go. And then another deputy who's got health issues left misdemeanors, and that doesn't help. Cheryl?
Well, this is a little off topic, but related to what you're saying, Kathy, because, so it is true that where you put your resources, that's what you value. And so I'm really interested in hearing your feedback about where you think we might be able to, pull back on and provide resources elsewhere, because we may not know everything that's going on, so, hearing from people like you to say, what if you did this and shuffle people around here and there, I'd really be interested in hearing that. We don't always, do the right thing, and so, maybe you can help us figure that out.
I don't know what the numbers are. I mean, I don't even go into that, I haven't looked at that board, and I don't know, it's impossible to know. I don't know how many cases Judy's has, I don't know how many white collar, I don't know, I mean, I just don't know. All I know is what we have. And I have looked at other caseloads, out of curiosity. I've seen what other team captains, what their caseloads are. I saw Oksana yesterday has 14 or 16. I saw that other trials people, granted, probably all their cases are murders, they all have 11, 12. So, I mean, I just don't know what people's caseloads are or where the needs are. All I know is what we have in Elder. And I do know that we are just getting so many cases.
Could you step out for a moment a minute? out a way to move some other people around, and you get one more person, and we're not quite sure who it would be, another deputy for Elder, could the three of you hang on
Yes,
and charge? I mean, I might want to get a fourth, but it's not gonna happen right away, and we think we probably will be able to get you a third within a week.
Mhm.
But down the road, I'm hoping to get more cases charged, however that's done. And I'm, whether it's having somebody else, as long as the cases aren't being declined, just to give you a lower caseload. If you can tell me you're gonna do that, we'll leave you where you are, work on everything. Obviously, you and Oksana cannot be on the same team. That is clear to me. And I realize the problems. But, like we said, you have a lot of things going for you. And we'd like to try this if you think you can hang on for a week and then just have 3 people for a while, because it's not gonna be a fourth for a while. We gotta, and again, we're hiring as many as we can, and somebody else, and there are a number of people who wait to see if they pass the bar before applying, so, we're always confident, hopeful we'll get one. So you think you can do that?
yes.
Okay. Well, we want you to be successful, we want you to do stuff. I think the Mario situation was very unfortunate. If you ever see anything, any deputy going astray, do what you can, bring it up there, bring it up here, because we never thought it would go that far. And if either of those Armstrongs, especially the builder, found out about it, he might sue him, if the words pay, or sue Minkin, if the words pay for play got associated with him. Okay. But we will try to find you somebody. We're trying to figure out where we can make some adjustments. And somebody else would be unhappy, but like you say, it shows our values where we put people, and that's why we have 4 in Elder. Because we realize it's vertical and you got a lot of extra work with that. Okay?
Thank you.
No, thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks.